He added, "I imagine I'll take things I learned from my mom and things I've learned from raising my nephews and apply that. Then, at the end of the day, I just know I'll probably have the worst spoiled little kid ever." Her father literally admitted it. He said it out loud, and he meant it.
I'm with Blue in Paris, and we go to this play, and I'm sneaking and videotaping, and she's saying, "Grandma, you're not supposed to video." And she's always bossing me around.
I love
A 14-year-old telling adults what they can and cannot do. But here's what nobody is connecting. For years, the world watched Blue Ivy Carter grow up. Not in private, not in a normal neighborhood, but under the constant watch of millions of cameras, millions of comments, and millions of people invested in every single breath she took. The story everyone told was beautiful. A billionaire empire passing the crown to the next generation. A child born with every advantage, every door already open, every dream already funded before she was old enough to have dreams. But what happens when you give a child everything? What happens when you remove every boundary, every consequence, every moment of genuine no? What happens when the only feedback a young person receives is unlimited praise? Solange Knowles is asking these questions, and according to multiple sources, she's not quietly wondering anymore. She's allegedly telling her sister directly, "This is broken, this is dangerous, and someone needs to fix it before it's too late." This isn't about conspiracy theories. This isn't about rituals or dark magic or internet fantasies. This is about something much simpler and infinitely more damaging. What happens when parental indulgence becomes psychological harm? Blue Ivy Carter was born into mythology. Not just wealth, not just fame, but literal mythology. When Beyonce became pregnant, it wasn't just a celebrity pregnancy. It was the continuation of a dynasty, the Knowles family empire, the Jay-Z and Beyonce reign. And Blue Ivy wasn't just a daughter, she was an heir, an asset, a future. Before she could even comprehend what that meant, the machinery began. Within hours of birth, her image was everywhere. Within weeks, she was being documented for global consumption. Within months, she had security details, stylists, handlers, an entire apparatus designed to manage her public presence. But here's the critical detail that nobody talks about. They never asked her permission. They never sat down and said, "Blue, do you want this?" They made a choice for her. A choice born from love, yes. Born from ambition, yes. But a choice nonetheless. He wasn't joking. He was being honest. And more importantly, he was accepting it. Not trying to prevent it, not concerned about it, just accepting it. Because when you have unlimited money, when you can create any opportunity, when you have the power to literally build doors that didn't exist before, rejection becomes impossible, consequence becomes optional, and the word no becomes something a child might never actually hear. The numbers tell this story better than any theory ever could. Her parents spent $1.5 million on her nursery. A solid gold rocking horse was her first toy. Not a toy, her first toy. Let that sink in. While most children are learning to process wooden blocks and plastic shapes, Blue Ivy was surrounded by items most adults will never own. When she was still a toddler, Jay-Z paid $1 million per year, not total, per year, to rent a suite at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Why? So he could watch basketball games with his daughter nearby. There was a separate space filled with toys, created just for her. She had a personal stylist before she could read, a confidence coach before she could write her name, bodyguards before she could tie her shoes, and then came the accomplishments. The Grammy Award at 9 years old for her contribution to Brown Skin Girl, the performances, the public appearances, the tours, the visibility, all of it designed, curated, and controlled by adults who believed they were giving her advantages. They were actually building a prison with very expensive walls. Here's what happens when you remove boundaries from a child. They stop respecting authority.
Every once in a while, I'll get a call from Blue, and she'll say, "Grandma, that's really whack what you just did. That's really whack. You should delete that. Really, you should delete that."
And do you listen?
No. I'm like, girl, I'm on to the next thing.
Notice what Tina's saying here. Blue is calling her grandmother, one of the most respected figures in her life, and telling her what to do. And Tina's response is not to set a boundary. It's to laugh it off. It's to treat it like a charming anecdote, but it's not charming. It's a symptom.
I'm with Blue in Paris, and we go to this play, and I'm sneaking and videotaping, and she's saying, "Grandma, you're not supposed to video." And she's always bossing me around.
I
love that. That's the phrase that reveals the entire problem. The adults around Blue Ivy have decided that her lack of respect is adorable, that her refusal to accept guidance is confidence, that her need to control every situation is strength. Do you understand what that statement actually means? It means there is no struggle, no rejection, no moment where Blue Ivy has to hear, "We can't do that." No experience where she has to work towards something and wonder if she'll actually achieve it. No failure. No learning what it feels like to want something and not get it. Matthew Knowles is describing a world world where a teenage girl has never experienced the fundamental human experience of being told no. And then came the moment that proved it publicly, the Met Gala, May 2024, one of the most photographed events in the world. Blue Ivy showed up wearing sunglasses. The publicists asked her to remove them. The stylists asked her to remove them. Jay-Z, her father, apparently made the request, and she refused. She refused all of them. Now on the surface, this could look like confidence. A teenage girl who knows what she likes and won't compromise. That's one interpretation, and plenty of people have made it. But there's another interpretation that's far more revealing. What happens when a 14-year-old can refuse a direct request from her father at one of the most important photo opportunities of her career and face no consequences? What happens when she realizes in that moment that she has more power than the adults around her? This isn't about fashion. This isn't about individual expression. This is about hierarchy. This is about a child testing boundaries and discovering that the boundaries don't actually exist. Because here's what actually happened. There were no consequences. No conversation about respect. No moment where Blue learned that sometimes you do things you don't want to do because that's what being part of a family requires. She simply refused, and the world moved on, and the adults around her celebrated it. The pattern didn't stop. It accelerated. During the Cowboy Carter tour, Blue allegedly demanded her own VIP dressing room, an around-the-clock team to help her, major concessions that most performers, even seasoned professionals, don't receive. And she got all of it because the machinery around her is designed to say yes, always yes, infinitely yes. This is where Solange enters the story, and this is where the real tension emerges. Solange Knowles raised her son Jules in a fundamentally different way. While Blue Ivy was surrounded by unlimited wealth, unlimited access, and unlimited praise, Jules was sent to school in New Orleans. Regular school with normal kids. Kids who weren't billionaires' children. Kids whose parents said no.
I feel like moving to New Orleans and putting him in school there was a good move for keeping him humble. He's just around a lot of like sweet, nice, normal kids. And also around a lot of kids who get disciplined. May have similar discipline.
Solange made a conscious choice. She prioritized boundaries. She prioritized discipline. She prioritized her son experiencing the real world instead of a carefully curated billionaire bubble. And according to the reports circulating, she watched what was happening with Blue Ivy and thought, my sister is making a massive mistake. Now here's where it gets complicated. Solange's own son Jules isn't exactly a model of perfection. He's been involved in controversies, relationship drama, public incidents. So some people dismiss Solange's criticism as hypocritical, but that misses the entire point. Solange's willingness to call out her sister about Blue Ivy's upbringing, despite challenges with her own son, actually makes her credible. She's not speaking from a place of arrogance. She's speaking from experience. She's seen what happens when you try to protect a child from consequence, and she's likely watching Blue Ivy head down a similar path. The request to take off the sunglasses at the Met Gala? Simple, easy. A moment where Blue could have learned that sometimes you do things you don't personally want to do because respect matters. Instead, she learned that refusal works, that refusing a direct request from your father carries no cost. We've seen this pattern before, not with Blue Ivy specifically, but with child stars who grew up in controlled environments with unlimited resources. These are adults who grew up receiving unlimited praise, unlimited access, unlimited permission, and they've become known, genuinely known, for treating people poorly, for having no respect for boundaries, for behaving as though their desires are the only desires that matter. Blue Ivy isn't James Corden yet. She's 14, but she's on a trajectory, a path laid out by adults who believe they're being generous when they're actually being destructive. Because here's what science tells us. Children need boundaries. They need to hear no. They need to experience consequence. They need to learn that the world doesn't revolve around them. Not because it's punishing, but because it's how they develop healthy relationships with reality. A child who has never heard no becomes an adult who can't process rejection. A teenager who controls all the adults around her becomes a person who struggles when the world doesn't bend to her will. A young person surrounded by unlimited praise becomes someone who can't distinguish between genuine accomplishment and inherited privilege. And Blue Ivy has been set up for all of this. This is important. This isn't about Blue Ivy being a bad person. This is about Beyonce and Jay-Z creating a structure that prevents her from developing into a healthy adult. They're so busy giving her everything that they've forgotten to give her the one thing she actually needs: limitations. According to the reports and commentary circulating, Solange has allegedly expressed serious concern about Blue's upbringing belonging to Beyonce directly, not as criticism, not as judgment, but as a sister who sees her sibling making a choice that will damage her child. And here's the thing. This is exactly what aunts, uncles, and extended family members are supposed to do. They're supposed to be the people who say what the parents might be too close to see. Solange isn't trying to take Blue away. She's not trying to sabotage Beyonce's relationship with her daughter. She's allegedly trying to sound an alarm, to say, it's not too late. You can still change this. You can still introduce boundaries. You can still give her the gift of being told no. Because right now, Blue Ivy lives in a world where every want is indulged, every request is granted, every refusal is celebrated, every mistake is protected, every behavior is excused. And that's not a life. That's a prison disguised as privilege. We have to address something directly here. Beyonce is not a passive participant in this dynamic. She's watching it happen. She's present at the Met Gala when her daughter refuses her father. She's observing as her child tells her mother what to do. She's aware that Blue is allegedly being difficult during tours, during public appearances, during private moments, and instead of setting boundaries, Beyonce is either enabling the behavior or ignoring it. That's the accusation that Solange seems to be making. Not that Blue is inherently bad, but that Beyonce has chosen to let her daughter become this way. Chose it, actively, over and over again. The question becomes, why? Some people theorize it's guilt, that Beyonce struggled with fertility issues and overindulges Blue as compensation, that she's so grateful to have a child that she can't bring herself to say no. Others suggest it's ambition, that Beyonce sees Blue as an extension of her legacy and wants her to be more confident, more powerful, more commanding than she herself was as a teenager. Maybe it's both, maybe it's neither, but the result is the same. A child growing up without the fundamental human experience of being told no. You might be wondering, does any of this actually matter? Blue Ivy is going to be fine. She's rich, she's privileged, she's surrounded by love. But that's exactly the thinking that creates this problem in the first place. Money and privilege are not substitutes for healthy parenting. Fame and success do not replace boundaries. Having every physical want met does not prevent emotional and psychological damage. In fact, it can accelerate it because Blue Ivy is growing up in a world where millions of people are invested in her story. Millions of people who see her every move, judge her every choice, analyze her every expression, and she has no tools to handle that. No experience with rejection that would teach her resilience. No practice with consequences that would teach her accountability. No history of hearing no that would teach her how to navigate a world that sometimes says no to everyone. The internet is watching this play out, and while some people find it entertaining, others, like Solange apparently, see it as a warning sign. A moment where a child learned that she has more power than the most powerful woman in music, and then experienced no correction for it. That lesson doesn't disappear. It compounds. It builds. It becomes part of who she is. There will be people who say this is overblown, that all teenagers push boundaries, that all kids test their parents, that Blue Ivy is just being a normal adolescent. And technically, they're right. Teenage rebellion is normal. Testing limits is developmentally appropriate. Asserting independence is part of growing up. But there's a difference between normal teenage rebellion and what's being documented with Blue Ivy. Normal teenage rebellion happens when there are boundaries to rebel against, when there is an authority structure to test, when there are consequences that make the rebellion feel risky or thrilling. What's happening with Blue Ivy isn't rebellion. It's the absence of any structure to rebel against. She's not pushing against limits. She's operating in a world where limits don't exist. That's not teenage behavior. That's the result of parenting that has removed all structural opposition. If this pattern continues, if Blue Ivy reaches adulthood without ever experiencing genuine consequence, genuine rejection, genuine failure, what kind of adult will she become? History gives us clues. Childhood stars who were overindulged frequently struggle with inability to handle criticism, expectation that the world will bend to their will, difficulty in relationships where they're not the center of attention, entitlement that alienates people around them, depression and anxiety when reality doesn't match their expectations. The good news? It's not too late. Blue Ivy is 14. She's not permanently shaped. She's not beyond help. The bad news? Every day that passes without boundaries, without consequence, without genuine challenge, makes it harder to introduce them later. Because once a child learns that refusal works, introducing consequences becomes incredibly difficult. The child has already experienced a world where their desires take priority. Asking them to suddenly respect boundaries they've already proven don't exist feels arbitrary. This is Solange's point, distilled. The internet that currently celebrates Blue Ivy's confidence and her refusal to follow rules will absolutely destroy her if she becomes an adult who can't handle criticism or doesn't respect basic social boundaries. The public will turn on her, and when they do, She won't have the internal resources to handle it because she's never had to handle disappointment before. Here's where this story comes back to something simple and important. Children are not responsible for their upbringing. Parents are. Blue Ivy didn't ask to be born into this empire. She didn't request unlimited privilege. She didn't decide to grow up under cameras. Those were all choices made by adults. Beyonce and Jay-Z had the power to create a different life for her. They could have chosen privacy. They could have chosen discipline. They could have chosen to introduce her to real-world consequences and genuine failure. Instead, they chose this, a life where every want is indulged and every no is reframed as impossible. And Solange is watching her sister make that choice over and over again, watching her niece learn that boundaries don't apply to her, watching a young woman develop a relationship with power that's completely disconnected from reality. So what does Solange do? According to reports, she speaks up. She says something. She risks her relationship with her sister to point out what she sees happening. That's not betrayal. That's love. That's what family is supposed to do, based on everything documented, based on every statement made, based on the behavioral patterns evident in public moments. Yes. Solange appears to be absolutely right, not about rituals, not about dark magic, not about conspiracy theories, but about something far more grounded and infinitely more damaging. She's right that Blue Ivy's upbringing lacks fundamental boundaries. She's right that a 14-year-old who can refuse her father with no consequence is being set up for adult dysfunction. She's right that parents who've removed all opposition are creating an illusion of power that will collapse when reality arrives. And she's right that someone needs to say something. The real question isn't whether Solange is right. The question is, will Beyonce and Jay-Z listen? Because from everything we can see, they haven't yet. The behavior continues, the indulgence accelerates, and Blue Ivy continues living in a world that doesn't prepare her for actual life. This isn't about judgment for entertainment. This isn't about gossip for gossip's sake. This is about watching a family dynamic that's actively harmful and asking, when does someone change it? Solange has apparently made her position clear. She's allegedly told Beyonce directly that this needs to stop, that Blue needs boundaries, that some of the behavior being excused is actually preparation for adult dysfunction. The question now is, what Beyonce and Jay-Z do with that information? Do they dismiss Solange as being jealous or overly critical? That's what appears to have happened so far. Or do they step back and actually listen? Do they look at their daughter and ask hard questions? Is she developing healthy relationships with authority? Can she handle the word no? Does she understand that there are consequences for her actions? If they ask those questions honestly, they might not like the answers, but that's actually the first step toward fixing this.